Welcome to Conversations with Zaki Baruti, with your host, Zaki Baruti. And like always, I give a shout out to my biological family. What's going on, brothers and sisters? My biological brothers and sisters, to the Universal African People's Organization family, of which I'm the President General. Keep up the great work and what's happening. And last but not least, to the New Life Evangelistic Center family. You also keep up the great work headed by Reverend Rice, and a shout out to our cameraman Bob. On that note, we're going to have another great show. Today we'll be talking about Africa and living in Africa. And just most recently I met a gentleman at a positive fundraiser for a brother who's seeking re-election, Lewis Reed, but the brother name is Anthony Mcdonald. What's going on, sir?
All right, how you doing?
I'm doing great,
yes,
man.
Sir.
What about yourself?
I can't complain.
Okay, then. You know, we reacquainted ourselves
Yes,
just the other evening in terms of, having met prior.
Yes,
now, for my audience, I always like people to know a little bit about who my guest is, their background. Share wherever you want to share about, where you grew up at, graduated from, or wherever you want people to know.
I'm a St. Louis native. I grew up in North St. Louis, near the Old Fallon Park, Fairground Park area. So my roots are here in St. Louis, historically. And I've been involved in a number of different industries. I've been an entrepreneur since the age of 17. From that time, I've written and published books, from history books to personal books, stories of my personal life. Thus far, I've published over 22 books, including other authors, including my son. My son was 10 years old when I published his first book, and my niece was 13 years old when I published her first book. 16 years old when I published her first book. And then I also published several authors in Africa, 2 authors in Uganda, and we're currently working on a publication in Sierra Leone.
Wow, sound like, okay then, you're creating a library of works done by yourself and your family.
Yes, sir.
Give me a title or two.
Well, my first book that I've written is called Risen, From Jamestown to the White House. And it's a book that chronicles Africans turned African-American achievements from the time that, the recorded time that we were shipped here or enslaved here, 1619, up to former President Obama winning the White House. So each page chronicles a different African-American and all that we went through and the things that we have overcome.
So how have you been doing in terms of getting your books distributed and sold? And I'm sorry we don't have any on hand. I know you had an emergency, but how are the books being done?
Now the books are available online. They are found in a number of different bookstores here in the U.S., and then they have been accepted at a university in Kenya, Africa, and then also they're in a couple bookstores in Uganda, Africa, as well as several schools here in the United States have accepted the book also. So that's what Risen. Then my son, his book is called Super Reigns and Aims. And then there's a list of other books that I have written and published for, published for various authors.
So with that said, then, if anybody's interested in your book, then they can Google your name and
yes, they can Google my name, Anthony M. McDonald Sr. Go to Amazon.com and it'll pull up a list of all the books that we have published, and then they be able to select at that moment. Okay, then I want to salute you on that your literary works. But also I want to salute you in terms of you kind of practice what you preach in terms of living outside of the box. You mentioned Kenya, and when we became reacquainted at the fundraiser, I had just talked to a gentleman who was asking about the possibility, how would it be like living in Africa? Yes.
Then I bumped into you, and you was just sharing with me your experiences of actually living in Africa.
Yes, sir.
And on the screen, people should be seeing like a map of Africa, which comes, that map as an organization, Universal African People's Organization, we always have this part of our newspaper with every edition of the African Newsworld.
Excellent.
And we encourage people to know at least 34 countries of Africa.
Yes, sir.
First of all, you're living in Africa. I mean, you do live in Africa,
Yes,
right?
sir.
First of all, why should people have any knowledge of Africa from your perspective?
I mean, why should people have knowledge of Africa?
Especially black people. Yeah.
Just in general, people, let's start there, is because Africa is life. It's the start of civilization. Now, as far as black people, Africans throughout the diaspora, it's important for us to know because that's our home. That's the true catalyst for black people. When I first went to Africa, I first visited Uganda in 2013. I was invited down to do a documentary film on one of their royal kingdoms, the Toro Kingdom. And when I got there and I experienced life in Africa, literally in my entire life, I've never felt like a 100% a human being until that day. So I felt once I was in Africa like a real human being. There was no discrimination, no racism, no social...
and again, that's in what particular country?
This was in Uganda.
Uganda.
Yes.
And what city in Uganda?
This was in Kampala.
Kampala.
It was in Kampala and also Fort Porto. So
right.
we filmed in Kampala and we filmed mostly in Fort Porto. So...
and by the way, I've been to Kampala.
Yeah, I love Kampala. Yes.
In fact, they say Winston Churchill said something to the effect...
It's the Pearl of Africa.
Pearl of Africa,
yes,
right.
That's what he had coined it.
Right.
So Uganda is where I currently reside. We have a home here in St. Louis, and we have a home in Uganda. When I say we, I married a Uganda lady, which is called a Muganda. She's part of the Buganda tribe, so she's called a Muganda. And even in the movie Black Panthers, at the beginning of the Black Panthers movie, they had spoke about the Buganda tribe. So, her tribe was embedded in the movie. So, we had a baby boy, and he's Ugandan by nationality, by birth. So, I'm really proud of that as well.
On that note, we'll have to take a break.
I want to thank God for each and every one of you that are supporting NLEC TV, the work of the New Life Evangelistic Center, and making it all possible so we can have conversations with Zaki on the air along with the other programming that's on NLEC TV. Not only we discover that at 24.2, but I actually watch it on my cell phone at a very special app that we have of NLEC TV, and you can just pull it up. It's so easy that everybody can watch it anywhere. So wherever I travel, I can be watching this program and other programs. Now, all this is possible only because of caring people like you that are sharing those much-needed tax-deductible gifts at this time with the New Life Evangelistic Center. We have a lot of things that are unfolding at this moment. We're continuing to help multitudes of people, not only throughout Mid-America, but as far away as India and Africa and other locations around the world. And we really do need your help. After they closed down 1411 Locust, we're continuing to help the homeless directly out on the streets every week. We're out in the mayor's window distributing bus tickets and other direct supplies. We have regular events out in front of 1411 Locust, and we're working actually through the legal, the mediation, the advocacy, and getting prayer warriors to pray that we can reopen 1411 Locust in the near future. But we need your involvement at this particular moment. And your gifts to the New Life Evangelistic Center make such a big difference. You can send that to P.O. Box 473, St. Louis, Missouri, that's 63166, or you can give online through the PayPal system at newlifeevangelisticcenter.org or NLEC STL. I ask you to continue to stand with us right now as we continue to bring many programs like Conversation with Zaki to you, but we need your help.
If you can't receive NLEC TV on channel 24.2 on your TV, you can watch us on your home computer or laptop, anywhere in the world. Simply type in NLEC TV, then select NLEC TV support, and click on the small NLEC TV on the right of the menu bar. Click on the play indicator to start the live programming, the same programming as 24.2. You can then enlarge the picture and enjoy your favorite programs like the NLEC Worship with Larry Rice, The Bernie Hayes Show, Experience the Benefits of Change with Pastor Burris, Conversations with Zaki Baruti, News and Views, and so much more.
Can you hear the music of creation?
NLEC TV is also available on all mobile devices such as smartphones and iPads. By getting the NLEC TV app, you can enjoy NLEC TV anywhere you go.
Welcome back to Conversations with Zaki Baruti. In studio with me is Anthony Mcdonald, an author of many different literary works, as well as a traveler, world traveler, who's currently living in both Uganda as well as in St. Louis, Missouri. So, you know, many people have pushed for the concept of dual citizenship.
Yes,
Do you have citizenship there?
Currently, I don't have citizenship in Uganda. Is required in order to get residence. You have to be married for at least 3 years. So May of this year pushed me to that 3-year mark. So once I go back to Uganda, I'm going to apply for residence, and then from there, that's when I get to apply for citizenship with Uganda as well.
Wow, as a couple questions that come to my mind, but before I get to those questions, I want to get, and don't let me forget, I'm at the age 71. I want to deal with how your family reacted to, moving to Africa. But prior to that, have you traveled other parts of Africa?
Oh yes, I've been to, as I mentioned, Uganda. Been to Kenya.
And Kenya is kind of like Central East. Okay, Uganda is East.
Yes. So been to Kenya, been to Rwanda, which here in the U.S. we call it Rwanda, but in Africa it calls Rwanda. Been to South Africa, Nigeria, Ghana, Sierra Leone. I traced my DNA, my maternal DNA, back and found out that I was from the Timni tribe of Sierra Leone. So we went there as a homecoming and had a really nice homecoming ceremony with our tribe members. And this was last year, I believe it was around February of 2017 when I traveled to Sierra Leone. So thus far, I've been to 8 African countries.
Wow. Any European countries, South American countries?
I haven't visited South America yet. That is on my list maybe for 2019 as well as Asia. But I've been to several different European countries. I've been to Paris, I've been to Brussels, been to Amsterdam, London. So I've been to quite a few European countries also.
And I asked that question because I've been blessed to travel fairly extensive, about 30-some countries, but I just challenge everybody, you got to get, number one, get you a passport.
Yes.
Number 2, get out of the country. You can start with the Caribbean islands, or make sure that you get to Africa. And for those who have different faith, if you're a Christian, then you need to get to Jerusalem. Go where they say Jesus walk. If you're a Muslim, then you go to Mecca, or if you believe in ancient Native Americans, go to a place where, in Belize, I've got an opportunity to go there.
Okay.
Yeah. So go to the spiritual base of, that's why I encourage people to do, of your belief system. On that note, going back, I had asked you not to let me forget a question, which I have not, in terms of your family. And was this just a recent decision, or had you been thinking about that, sharing it with your family prior? I'm talking about your mother, father, brothers and sisters, or whoever is your circle, and their responses.
What was most important was my oldest son, Anthony Jr. He's 17 now. So that was the most important factor in me moving. Now, I've talked it over. My family knew my love for Africa, knew my connection with Africa, because I've started traveling in 2013. So from that point, I was literally probably in Africa 3 months a year. 3 months, then the U.S., 3 months, then Africa, 3 months, in the U.S., 3 months. So I was there pretty much almost half the year since I started traveling down there. So once I met my wife, then that's when my real decision was to find a home there as well. So my family was very supportive of it. They've always supported my decisions. I've always made strong decisions. So they always supported any of the decisions that I made. I would like to say, but my 17-year-old son, he'll call me, if I'm in Uganda, and he'll say, "Daddy, I miss you. You need to come home." And then at that moment, I'll talk to my wife, and I'll buy a plane ticket, and I'll come home. So,
Oh, okay.
and she's understanding. So it's good to have a very supportive and understanding wife.
So have you brought your son there?
Not yet. Once he turned 18, then at that point he'll be a little bit freer to go.
So that's a son from a previous relationship,
Yes, sir.
and now you also have a child from your present wife.
Yes, sir.
Okay, then. All right, then. Now, in terms of, visiting there, as I visit different parts of Africa myself, some people say, well, you got to be there a long time to really, because for me, I could see myself living there. Mm-hmm. But how has been actually living there been to you? Describe your experiences, if you will.
Oh, wow. Like I said, it's been very pleasant. It reduced my stress levels. A year and a half ago, at that time when I went, I lost 70 pounds because my stress level had reduced tremendously. The food is so healthy, so I was eating very healthy food. Everything was just pleasant. I mean, just being in a relationship with someone, because in Africa, everyone values family. So in America, that value has been replaced for other things, materialistic things, pleasing social norms or whatever. So, but in Africa, it's still a great value and emphasis on the family structure. So therefore, that actually was what I needed. So being there, it was just a stress reliever for me. It was just a calm on my life. And also, one of the most important things is for a African person, a black person, whether you're a black American, a black European, black Caribbean person, it's so important for us to go to Africa because the resources are there, they're available, and it's so much easier for us to start businesses there. And there's no red tape, so we don't have to, and I'm speaking from experience because I've started many businesses here in the United States. Many times I started businesses, I made sure it had a name that was what we considered white enough so that when I call people, they won't reject me because I have a black sounding name. I made sure that when I call organizations, I talk proper English so they won't reject me because I'm not talking the youth black urban English. So with that in Africa, we don't have to worry about that. You just be yourself. You name it what you want, and you see growth from there.
On that note, though, we'll have to take a quick break.
I want to ask you at this moment to please pray for our community. We need a prayer at this particular moment. So much hurt, so much pain, so much injustice. I see it on a daily basis. But God answers prayer. Pray for justice. Pray that the Holy Spirit will sweep across our community, and so many people as they're God-fearing people, their hearts will be melted, and they'll reach out to these that Jesus refers to as the least of these. We'll see churches open their doors, and the Women in Need program coming forth. A church will open its doors, and we'll be able to take the women and the children that are suffering on the streets of our community to a particular church each night and bring them back. Pray that the doors of the 1411 Locust Building will open soon, and the financial needs of the New Life Evangelistic Center during this very critical period will be met. Let's bind together in prayer. God answers prayer. Keep the faith and keep on praying for our community. Let's believe Him for miracles at this hour.
How important are St. Louis Metro passes to the needy?
These bus tickets help me get to my pregnancy class, my daughter to see her. I'm looking for work, and I'm really thankful for them. Thank you.
To provide stability and permanent change to the homeless, they need jobs. But how do they get transportation to look for work when they have no money? And when they find a job, how will they get there? Become a part of NLEC's Metro Pass program and help bring enduring change to a life.
Bus tickets may not sound like a big thing to some people, but when you have no transportation and you're working with a very limited budget, these bus tickets are a tremendous blessing. I have doctor's appointments that I have to attend, going to seek jobs and putting in applications. I really would like you to understand the importance and the need for this ministry, and anything that you can do to keep this ministry going. Please know that it is an extension of God's love.
And you also are getting some bus tickets, is
Yes.
that right?
It helps out walking because everywhere you go, it's like a few hours each way, and people don't understand. It's freezing out there. We might have coats and everything, but it doesn't help out as much as everyone thinks they do.
So getting the bus tickets are a big help for you.
Yes, very much help.
And I say thank you to all of you that are praying, caring, and sharing at this time so we can help so many.
Welcome back to Conversations with Zaki Baruti. In studio with me is Brother Anthony Mcdonald, a author of many literary works, as well as international travel, who's currently residing in two places, St. Louis, Missouri, and Kampala, Uganda.
Yes, sir.
Okay, then. In terms of one of the, historically, and in fact, just recently I woke up to some Turner movies that had stereotype of Africans, running around all, without clothing, more or less. I'm talking about the stereotype that used to be projected. The living conditions of people, a lot of blacks here in America say, damn, I mean, they are afraid that the standard of life would not be comparable. Speak to that.
When you come from the U.S., we live in a materialistic society in the U.S., but when you go to Africa, you become free. So you don't have to wear Jordans to be accepted. In the U.S., as a black American, you got to wear the latest names just to be accepted, to be part of society. When you're in Africa, you're free. You wear African clothing, African prints. You wear what's available. So people in Africa live a very comfortable life, and they're very happy within their lives. And they're not running up, spending their money on these material goods just to please others. Everything, as I mentioned, is focused on family and on most people, college-age people, what they speak about. When you hear in the U.S., you have college-age people, young adults speak about maybe buying them a car, maybe getting their first apartment, maybe getting some type of clothing brands. But in Africa, what you hear those same young people talk about is buying their first piece of land, starting a business, building a house. This is the conversation you're having with 19-year-olds. 19-year-olds saying, I'm going to buy my first piece of land so I can build a house.
Okay.
You don't have that conversation here in the U.S. So the mindsets are different. So any black American that go to Africa, they're going to fit in really well and they're going to prosper. My wife and I.
Let me drop, because time is rushing.
Yes, sir.
Two issues. Crime and drugs.
Let's take drugs out of the picture. That's not there. Drugs is not there at all. In Uganda, I've never seen a drug problem. You don't have people smoking weed. And I know politically in the U.S. weed is not considered a drug to some, but you don't have people smoking weed. You don't have people smoking cigarettes. That's not a problem in Uganda.
Wow. Okay. That's
crime. You have very petty crime. You have people might pickpocket you. I mean, things that for us in the U.S. we'll laugh at. The crime that's there, we'll laugh at. You never hear a gunshot. You never seen no one get murdered. The police don't even walk around with bullets in their guns. You don't get harassed by the police. It's simple.
On that note, so you, in terms of contrast of the societies, black people are a minority, quote, but along with other ethnic groups, we're probably close to 50-50 population here. I'm talking about with Hispanics and what have you. In Uganda, is there a white population there? And what is the relationship of black Ugandans with white tourists or white people may be living there?
You don't really have a white population. If it is, it's very, very tiny. But Ugandans treat everyone like humans. Blacks in Africa or even my experience in the U.S., blacks really we don't have the power to be racist. We don't have the power to discriminate. Racism is a power position. It's not I don't like you because of your skin color. Who cares if you
You're talking about within America.
Yeah. So in Uganda in particular, they welcome everyone. You have to think that the education system is still controlled by the whites in not just Uganda, but throughout Africa. So they're being trained to like whites, from very small. So they cannot, in their mind.
So they do not have a nationalistic school system?
No.
Well, that's okay then. I guess you don't have to
bring it. Yeah. We're building one at this moment.
All right. On that note, we'll have to take another break.
New Life Evangelistic Center is reaching out to so many people that don't have a home at this time, whether it's in the St. Louis area, the Springfield area with the day center that's there, or the teams of volunteers that are going out every day up and down the streets of the city of St. Louis, offering people direct help, emergency responses to the emergency needs they're in, also long-term solutions through the New Life Evangelistic Center training programs. Bus tickets are provided, other direct assistance is given, all because of those of you that are praying for the work of New Life Evangelistic Center and sharing your tax-deductible gifts now. It's P.O. Box 473, St. Louis, Missouri, that's 63166. Continue to pray for New Life Evangelistic Center as it works around the clock to be there when people are hurting in such a variety of ways through its work. Go to www.newlifeevangelisticcenter.org and see all the different ways that New Life Evangelistic Center is not only helping the hurting and homeless throughout Mid-America, but around the world. All because of those of you that are praying and sharing at this time. Again, it's New Life Evangelistic Center, P.O. Box 473, St. Louis, Missouri, that's 63166, or newlifeevangelisticcenter.org.
Hear this, you who trample the needy and do away with the poor of the land. Let justice roll on like a river, righteousness like a never-failing stream. You trample on the poor and force him to give you grain. Therefore, though you have built stone mansions, you will not live in them. Though you have planted lush vineyards, you will not drink their wine. For I know how many are your offenses and how great your sins. You oppress the righteous and take bribes, and you deprive the poor of justice in the courts.
Welcome back to Conversations with Zaki Baruti. In studio with me, Anthony Mcdonald. We only got a few minutes left. He's a literary author as well as live in Kampala, Uganda, as well as in St. Louis, Missouri. You know, one of the things over the years that I've pushed is the whole concept of imports, exports, trade. I always raise the issue, why don't, with Africa being the richest continent on the planet Earth, where diamonds, gold, everything comes from there, where are our gold stores, our diamond stores? But I try to practice what I preach. I did have a relationship with some brothers in Zimbabwe when we were bringing in 14-karat gold for a minute, but it didn't survive.
Yes, sir.
Trade opportunities.
There are many trade opportunities. I try to encourage people here in the U.S. To get involved. Let's say, for example, something very small, school uniforms. Every kid in the public school systems in the U.S. have to have on a school uniform.
In the U.S.?
In the U.S. So therefore, we can get those manufactured in Africa and import them here for
as an example,
just as cheap as is being done in China. Then you have natural minerals. You got things such as salt, black pepper. You have marble. You have many different minerals that we can import to the U.S. So my wife and I, we started a chocolate candy manufacturing company for our two boys. So we gave both of our sons their own chocolate candy bar brand. And our oldest son, Anthony Jr., his candy bars being imported to the U.S. Our baby boy, baby Kari, his is going to be throughout various African countries. So his is a retail brand, but Anthony Jr.'s, his is a business brand. So his brand is used as a fundraiser for organizations that's trying to raise funds. So we're already involving ourselves in that trade, that import-export type of mechanism.
Now, quickly, if anybody want to follow up on what they have heard today in terms of contacting you for further info about, they may, as a being hearing from you, say, I got to go and pack up and go to Uganda. Let me say, Uganda is a very beautiful place. I want to reemphasize. How can they contact you?
They can find me on Facebook, and then I'll give them my direct cell phone number. On Facebook, I'm at facebook.com/Anthony McDonald SR. And on my direct cell phone number is 314-635-8669. So you could text me, you could call me, when I'm available.
So we only got 30 seconds. One last comment, anything quick.
Africa is life.
Africa is life. Everybody, you heard that? Africa is life. For those of you who's suffering here, consider, as the Honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey, up your mighty race, accomplish what you will. And that could be in Africa if you can think outside of the box. On that note, may God bless each and every one of you who's been tuning in to Conversations with Zaki.